Have you ever wondered if the coach or trainer you're working with is actually helping you, or do you feel like everything they're telling you just isn't working? Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to teach you how to drop that trainer and when to drop that trainer or coach so that you can get the most out of the money that you spend on both services. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
I know coach or trainers listening. Well, I guess just make sure you're doing these things too.
How was your weekend?
I actually kind of had a busy weekend and unintentional. So Friday, okay. So last week, Michael was like, "Your belly dropped," and I was like, "I don't think so."
And I love that he's paying attention to that.
Well, we had a nice little chat last night too because he's getting very nervous. And I'm like, I know, like, he's like, "I'm just so nervous." And I'm like, "About what?" And he's like, "I don't know. I just don't want to fuck up the kid." I'm like, "Are you going to try your best?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, then like, that's as good as we're going to get right now."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not nervous at all, but that's probably because I've literally hired every person that I possibly can.
I was talking to my friend. She goes, "Yeah, we throw out birth plans."
Yeah. Like
she goes, I don't even use them half the time.
Yeah. And that's what my guy was adamant on it. So I was like, okay.
That's what I told her. I go, he was like all telling, "Where's your birth plan?"
So Friday. And so I was like, oh, whatever about my belly with Michael. And then Friday I go to my massage girl and I see her pretty regularly right now. And she's like looking at me and I was like looking at her like, "What?" And she's like, "Your belly dropped." And I was like, "Oh no." Like, yeah. She's like, "I feel like I could tell you that because I see you pretty often, but yeah, it's getting lower." And I was like, "Oh no." So, I did that.
What does that? When is that supposed to happen?
That your belly drops?
Yeah.
That's like now-ish when.
Okay. So we're on track.
Yeah, belly typically, but it's usually like, okay, like it's coming. 36 to 38 weeks, and I'm at essentially 37. So there we go.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I was like, okay. And then we did our last supper, like our last nice dinner at Dominic's, which I know y'all
saw that.
Steak 44.
My last supper.
Our last supper. And that was good. And then Saturday, I got a new car. So now we don't have to.
Oh, what'd you get?
I know. We ended up. So it was between, my options were the Toyota Highlander, and a Ford I think I got the Explorer. I don't know. And then the Volvo XC.
Oh, I do like those.
I know, they're so nice. That interior.
They're so nice.
That came back on the chopping block for me. So Michael and I went to the Ford dealership because I was like, I just need a test drive. Like, it looks fine. I'm not invested in this at all. And we were going to do the Toyota Highlander, but they're on like a recall right now. Yeah. So like because there's something wrong. So they don't know when they're all getting them in. And so, I was like, I mean, the Ford Explorer was fine. Yeah, it's fine. It drives nice and it is big. So now it's got 5 additional seats. So when we go and bar hop with y'all,
hey,
everybody. Yes. So yeah, I ended up getting that, but of course you're at the dealership for hours.
Which call your girl who used to work with car dealers.
I know.
Told you that already.
They actually did. It was pretty funny because the guy that sold us the car, like we were driving and somehow his age came up and he was 19. And so we were like, oh God. Like,
you went to the Ford dealership on Camelback, didn't you?
No, absolutely not. And if anybody's listening, do not ever go there. Like, no. That was the worst. So Michael's bought and sold a lot of cars. And when we bought my Ranger from there, he said that was by far the worst experience he's ever had.
Yeah, their company is pretty well known for just hiring guys off the street, like not training them well. And
it was horrible it's so funny because when we got to the finance part of that, when we were in the Ford Ranger, the gal was like, "So do you think, you would write us a review today?" And I looked at her, I said, "Absolutely not." Like, and she was just like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, like, no, I wouldn't. You don't want me to write a review. So
would be not happy with my input.
It's horrible. So yeah, we got the Ford Explorer. We were there for a little while. came home, and then we were definitely 30 years old on Saturday. So we went to Costco and got some stuff. And then yesterday I was a bit busier than I anticipated. So my girlfriend, she's also pregnant. She had her baby shower, which I've sworn off baby showers forever, except for this one apparently. And it wasn't bad because it was a lot of like my professional friends that were there. So like Molly Bond, who's been on the podcast, and then two of the pelvic PTs that I like to work with. And then my doctor / one of our referral partners was there too. So it was nice to just chat with everybody. And then we had a family party that night. So that was a lot. A lot, but that's okay. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Yeah. I went on a girls' trip to Flagstaff. That's right. Yeah, it was so freaking fun. So we knew it was going to be cold. We didn't realize it was going to snow on us.
I know, but it looks full-blown pretty.
Snow. Yeah, full-blown snow. Ooh. People are like, it snows in Arizona. I'm like, yes. We have high altitudes.
Yes.
It also snows in Palm Springs.
It also snows in Tucson, which is odd.
Yeah. So I drove up with my friend Sarah early on Friday morning, and it took us 2.5 hours to get there, almost 3, because of like we saw this like rollover accident. People were driving like dumbasses.
Was it snowing at that time or not yet?
Yes.
Okay.
It was snowing more near Munns at the time. Munns Park, for those who don't know. And then we got there, we worked some, and then they live in like a golf course area. So we went over to this restaurant near like their community center and had some appies and some drinks. And then we went ghost hunting.
Oh, that's right. How many girls went on this trip?
6.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. It's the wives of all of Mark's friends he went to high school with.
Okay. Now I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah. So
the Flagstaff this weekend.
Yeah. We were great. It was hilarious. Literally, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
Oh, good.
I was like crying, laughing at some of the shit we were talking about. But we went ghost hunting and I was so scared.
Really?
I was like, yeah, because she got like stuff. So we were in a haunted hotel, and then she just went up to like the rooms that were exposed, and the rooms that weren't haunted, she has like a echo ghost reader. I don't know, ghost reader. And it was going off. And then our girlfriend, Caitlin, she works for the VIG or Genuine Concept. She's their marketing. And there's a new concept out there in an old building. And we went in this one room and it was like going crazy. And I'm like, get me here. And so we next day woke up, walked the golf course, went to Cottonwood for our Verde Valley for some wine tasting. I don't do well with wine.
Too sweet, or you just don't like it, or your head hurts?
It's too sweet and I get like really weird anxiety afterwards.
Yeah.
And yeah. So like, we didn't even drink that much because it's like,
right.
And I was like, I hate this. There's a Coors Light. I hate this. And so finally the place we were supposed to go had an event, even though online DH Ranch in Verde Valley, you did not put that on your website. You said it was on the 18th, not the 19th. Anyway,
big difference.
So we ended up at this bistro to get some food. And of course, they got a Michelob Ultra at that point. So went home and we were like, let's get comfy. So we got in our comfy clothes. We watched 2 like thrillers I had not ever seen these movies, both with Sandra Bullock. We watched Practical Magic.
Oh, you've never seen that?
No, it was
my gosh.
Cute. It wasn't a thriller. Cute. That's like a fun Halloween movie. And then we watched Murder by Numbers.
I never saw that one.
It's with Ryan Gosling. It was good. And then I was just so anxious because stupid. I think it's the sugar.
Yeah.
I went to sleep first. Oh. And also in high altitude. I just think it was a combination of everything. But let's talk about eating when you go on a girls' trip.
Go for it.
So all we did the entire time was get appetizers and split them. And like, the Friday night we got sushi, but I feel like that's almost like getting appetizers.
Yeah. So you don't feel full with sushi.
Right. And so Sarah and I on our way back were like, I need a meal. Give me a freaking meal. I was thinking about how much I ate and I'm like, wow, I basically like starved myself because we shared a Cobb salad when we got to Oakmont. We shared sushi and edamame. Then the next day we had was like bagels, cream cheese, and fruit.
Oh.
Then we ate some bread, French onion dip with some chips, and deviled eggs. So one deviled egg, one small serving of French onion dip.
I know. Exactly.
I had 2 pieces of bread because I'm like, I need something to eat. We went to the bistro. We had like a bruschetta, some Brussels, and a grilled artichoke.
Yeah.
like, please feed me. And then the funny thing was, so now we've had this stuff all day. Once we finally got a meal, which was from Oregano's, I ate half of it and then I was full.
Yeah. That's funny. One time I went up to Idaho because one of my girlfriends in book club moved up there. And so we did like a trip to Idaho and it was really fun. But like for breakfast, it was like she's like, I got us some eggs and stuff. And I'm thinking like, oh, sweet. And she's like, I'll cook. And I didn't really think, because sometimes you don't really think about it. You're like, oh, surely everybody eats. And then she like brings out the eggs and it's like one egg. And I'm like, oh my God. We're like minimum 3 eggs for me, minimum of like at least a protein source in those eggs too.
Right.
Like, oh, so I was like,
this is not going to work for me.
I don't want to be on a cut for 3 days. Like
that's what I was.
Yeah.
I was bleeding at 152.8 this morning.
Yeah. You're like, oh,
thank you. Okay. So talked about that. Went to a networking event last week.
Yes.
And it was really refreshing. So it was for Renfrew Treatment Center for Eating Disorders.
Yep.
And I was nervous because I am kind of a black sheep, if you will, of the eating disorder world because I do promote exercise, a healthy relationship with exercise.
Really?
And obviously in our program, I was. Back in the day, I felt it was very black and white when it came to eating disorder treatment. Like if you were exercising because you were quote unquote in your eating disorder. And I just feel like that's stupid.
Did you get comments or anything? Or like I
would get comments about my own body.
Really?
Supposed to like lean and like I'd wear like a sleeveless shirt. Like I was going to trigger the patients. And I'm like, that seems like a you problem, not a me problem.
Yeah, like they have a lot deeper issues than my shoulders.
Right. And also I've looked like this my entire life. So thank you.
Okay.
It was so refreshing. I met so many awesome people. One of the gals I'm going to have on here, she works with the health department to change the initiatives around what is healthy and what is not.
Really?
Yeah, our own Arizona. Every state, if I'm going to say this correctly, has their own guide to health because we say BMI, for example. If someone was to look at my BMI, they'd be like, you're unhealthy, blah, 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 right? And get on the statin or something like that.
Yeah.
And she is doing a lot of work with our state government. She's a dietitian. And so we sat next to each other and just had very similar personalities. So that was nice. Lots of F-bombs. And so met her, met 2 other therapists plus a doctor who she very much, one of the therapists specializes in RFED, which is something you and I have talked about in children. She also specializes in OCD. The doctor, I also would like to have her on. She specializes in basically all things eating disorder, but focus more on binge eating. And so did the other clinician there. So they all very much welcomed me in. They wanted to learn more about what we do. And so it was so good.
For the doctor, like, are they a medical doctor?
And
so how do
I don't remember her credentials. Yeah, she did. I don't remember her credentials because she was like sitting on the opposite side. We went to all of an Ivy. So like it was just a table in the middle. Yeah. I thought they'd get like a private thing, but it was only a small group of us. So I was happy I went.
Good.
I do this thing where I make plans on the weekdays and I dread them the entire day before I go.
Yeah.
Like I've been working all day. I want to just sit on my couch and watch Love is Blind. Where are you at with it?
Well, didn't I?
Oh, by the way, people are telling me like they enjoyed our people pleasing.
Oh, really?
Love is Blind.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, our psychological breakdown of it.
Yes.
That's great.
I think we should just start a podcast on that. We would probably have more followers.
Well,
Even though,
yeah.
thank you for the following.
I saw my cousin last night, and I guess, my cousin's girlfriend is making Emily, the one that you talked to, because I was like, oh, I'm knee deep in it. She's so sweet. Like, just she is the sweetest person, and we are just so loud and like aggressive of a family. And she just sits there and is like, yeah, like. So I was talking to her and Ryan, and I was like, yeah, I'm knee deep in Love is Blind. She goes, well, we started watching. She goes, she's like, Ryan, tell what we started watching. He goes, I only watched half the episode. She goes, but what did we talk about on the whole ride here? And they started, yeah. So I guess they started watching the Mormon wives thing.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, what did you think? And I said, because I've heard a little bit about it. And she's like, oh my gosh. And my cousin's just like, it's just so weird. Like, and he's like, I'm trying to figure it out. And I was like, oh boy, this is because they like to watch like the Great British Baking Show and stuff together. Oh.
I have a new show.
What?
But what we have, people are here to hear how you felt about the Love is Blind episodes, whatever, 10 and 11. One? The people want to know, Amanda.
Which is this where? Oh, this is where they all broke up.
Correct.
Okay. Because I was like, whoa.
You posted about Hannah. You did not like her.
I did not like Hannah and Nick. And I said that from the get-go of like, why is this chick with Nick? Right. Okay. So that was weird. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Now it's called coming back to me. So, okay. Hannah and Nick. First of all, her like berating him constantly is just so demeaning to him. And the fact that he just like sits there and is like, yeah, like, okay, I'm trying. I'm like, dude, grab some balls and put them on is how I feel. Like, and then when she was like telling her mom, so like, okay, we do share with our mothers about our significant others or our girlfriends. Totally fine. But when she was like, he doesn't match me on intellect. He doesn't match me on this. He doesn't match me on that. He doesn't match me on any of this. And the mom is just like, oh, love is enough. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Do you remember that scene?
Yes.
Yes. And I was like,
here's my input on this. Okay, I think her mom knows that she is kind of a piece of shit.
Oh.
And her mom was just trying to be like, hey.
Like pacify the situation.
Yes. Yes.
Well, yeah, because her mom, like, as she was talking, you could tell her mom, like, kind of rolled her eyes. And I was like, I hope she says, like, you need therapy.
Her mom has heard this before. 1000%.
Yes. Well, and that's what
towards mom, too. Mom probably wasn't enough.
That's true, too. Because I'm like, why is this chick, like,
better than...
I'm sure she's wonderful, but I don't understand why she's all, like, high and mighty. And then
she probably had an issue with her weight her whole life, as she mentioned, and in an effort to not feel insecure, she goes better than.
Okay. And then she's got that bitch ass friend that I was like, I know. See, I was like, who the fuck?
I walked in on that. I was like, who the fuck is this chick? Like, why? Why did they? I mean, the mental torture that they put this man through.
I know.
Cause PTSD. Like,
sue for like therapy.
Like every single time other than with the parents, he was like ganged up on. I'm like, the fuck is this?
Well, also, how do you not recognize that your friend is being a complete bitch? Like, if you were talking that way to Mark, I'd be like, dude, like,
stop being a bitch.
Like, let's go. Let's just go for the day. Like, we can all go home. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Like,
time to go, everyone.
Yeah. I was just like, damn. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad they broke up.
Yep, they broke up.
Then
him and Alex, he was like, "No, I don't ever want to see you again." I was like, "Well,
I know." So
I kind of loved it.
Yeah, where she's like, "Can I explain myself?" He's like, "No, I'm done." I was like,
"I don't actually ever want to talk to you ever again."
Well, but they were kind of weird from the beginning too. Of like, just because I kept thinking of like, what he's not. I don't know if the way they cut the show, it was like making him not be very clear about what happened. And just, it seemed like he was throwing like a bitch fit and that she was trying to, like, that was my perception of like, okay, he's throwing a bitch fit. She's trying to figure out like how to like work with the relationship. But then of course I got on Reddit and it was a lot more than that. So let me ask this. Would you like be pissed if Mark took a nap after he had just been with your family all day?
I would probably ask him.
to not?
No, I'd ask him like, "Hey, I'm kind of tired," or ask them.
Yeah.
I'm very open. I'm like, "Hey guys, I know you guys have driven a
Yeah.
while. If we're just gonna have some downtime, I'm gonna take a quick nap if that's cool
Right.
with everyone.
That's what
Easy."
I kind of felt. I was like, I don't really think the nap's a big deal. I think there's something else going on.
No.
But yeah, he did
The fact
not
that
make.
this bitch did not clean up her room,
Oh,
her
I know that
house,
that room was disgusting.
and everyone's like, "This is just how she lives," and I'm like, "Well, that's not how he lives."
Right.
If
Well,
I went to a guy's house, oh, get out of here. Get out of here. Well, I'd get out of there. Like,
yeah, I
bye.
that room, I was like, "Oh my god." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Yeah, I just like lost like where she's like, I just got overwhelmed with packing." I'm like, that's an overwhelmed pack. Like that is a lot
Yeah.
more. And so yeah, I was like, okay, they're obviously not compatible between whatever happened in Mexico and then living together and whatnot. I was like, this is weird. And
Yeah.
he would be like, can I talk? Can I talk? And I hate when people like do that of like, I'm trying to talk and say it's like, I like everybody should take turns in the conversation. I get it. But she was
Mhm.
saying like, okay, this is what I felt. And then he'd be like, well, I'm not done. It's like, okay, well, I mean, how much are you going to berate me for taking a nap?
Right. No, I agree. It was a
So they
mess.
broke up.
And then
And then
Tyler lied and said his kids don't know what he looks like. And then his
okay,
baby mama came out.
she is. I know she came out and she posted
Girl broke it
videos and
down. She
said,
broke it down.
well, she said she's like, I'm very embarrassed because I lived most of my life as a lesbian, and then I have this circumstance. But I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like this is
Should not. But by the way, Bree, I think that's her name. You should not be embarrassed. You don't need to be embarrassed. You don't need to be embarrassed about anything. You, the way you chose to have children,
yeah,
whatever way that is, you
do it.
get to have that experience.
I
No one's
agree.
to fucking tell you it's wrong.
I
Like,
agree.
who cares if it was lesbian and you had a moment of, I mean, especially in
Dick,
grief,
maybe you got dickmatized.
stigmatized.
Yeah.
Stigmatized. Your favorite word. But obviously not that stigmatized because she was like, okay, you can go now. I'll go to
I
Love is
know.
Blind.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, and that so, like, even going back to that point, because of, like, for this gal, I'm like, I don't like, I agree, I don't think you should feel embarrassed about it, but, that doesn't mean she doesn't feel embarrassed, but, like, shit happens, like, we've all hooked up with people that you're like, "Ooh, whoops." Anyway, so, yeah, I'm glad that she posted that, but I'm very curious, I'm like, "Okay, but they've already gotten married, right?" Like, they're already recorded of these episodes.
They're not married yet.
Oh, they're not
That's
married
this
yet?
this week's episode is if they have to go to the altar and either say yes or no.
But they've
That's
already been filmed.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. So they could potentially already be married.
Correct.
And so we could be watching a marriage unfold before our
Yes.
eyes,
Yes.
which is
And we hope that it
terrible.
does. That is the stupidest thing to lie to someone about.
I know.
Stupidest thing ever. Like,
Well, and why?
dumb. Yeah, exactly. Ashley would be like, cool. I don't
Well,
care.
it's not like the kid I mean, are the kids like newborns and he like pieced out within like 3 weeks of them being born? You know what I mean? Like that
No,
would be
actually,
fucked.
her ex baby or her ex wife did
Yeah.
that to her. So,
Right.
yeah, this poor woman.
I know.
Can we put Brie on like the not golden, but like Bachelor with kids?
Do they have
That'd be
that?
great. No, but they should
Oh,
also have that. They
yes.
should have a bachelor for people with children. They should have a bachelor for like mid 40s.
Yes.
Because all these shows, if you're like 30, like, shit.
Who?
Who's the girl with Steven?
Monica?
Monica
Yeah.
was 37. And she's like, I'm the oldest one here. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
Well, and that's it. Then you got Marissa and Rameses or whatever his name is. He's just such a little like,
Bitch.
yeah.
He's a bitch. We
He's a
hate him.
bitch. I just like every time he talks,
She's
I'm like,
such
shut
a
the fuck up.
yeah, she's such a wonderful little spirit that you don't like, but I like.
Yeah.
Just trying to
Well,
break
I
her
just don't
down.
think they should be together. And she's like trying to make it work. And he just seems like when he was like, I'm focused on like the day to day and like keeping this relationship together. I'm like, okay, I mean, surely an hour of that day you can talk about your wedding. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to be focused on keeping the relationship together for 13 hours a day, but okay.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Good. Well, you know what he does really well? He guilt and shames you. And that is something that you should not allow your coach or trainer to do. So let's get into the topic, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen. So we've talked about this in another capacity, like behavioral, like not behaviorally, but training programs and what it shouldn't look like, which we might say again. But this was more of
an inspiration by Michael's trainer.
Yes. Is he still seeing him?
Yes.
So
anyway,
obviously the coaching relationship is such a vulnerable, well, it should be a vulnerable one, right? Yeah. It should feel like a very safe place. It should feel like you're seen and heard. It should feel like there is no judgment. Interestingly, one of my clients listened to one of our episodes where we talked about like the relationship with the coach. And she goes, yeah, I do that. She goes, I do that to you.
Really?
Yeah. She goes, I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want you to judge me. And I go, that's so interesting because we talk about such vulnerable shit. Mm-hmm. And like, you're worried about what I think about your workouts.
Yeah.
When we're talking about like things way beyond that. And she's like, right. So it was good to open it up and like understand that. And so it is, if it's done well or done right, it should feel, again, very safe. I think that's the best word. Safe in regards to this person is not going to do any harm to you. Now, we don't take an oath like we do as therapists and audiologists. Like our first like oath of practice is do no harm.
Right.
I think. Is that yours?
I'm sure we have to go by, what is that? It's some agreement from World War II, I believe, or World War I.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Speaking of
that. Well, it was created because of the German Nazi camps and stuff. And so they made a medical practice like oath of no harm.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's us. But yes, there's definitely a conduct that a trainer should have. But yes. I hear so many times, and I had a client reach out. I think I mentioned this before. Like she literally feels so much fear around not doing X, Y, and Z because of a past program.
Yep.
Like what?
Yep.
That is insane. So we just thought, hey, let's break it down for y'all. If your trainer is doing a handful, or your coach, because coaches, online coach, nutrition coach, trainer, whatever the fuck you want to call it, if they're doing this, it's time to find someone else. Yeah. We have 5 of us that you can look at too.
Well, and I would say don't be afraid to break up with them. Like, and you don't have to have that conversation necessarily. Like most of the time when someone gets ready to break up with somebody, it's been coming. It's not like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Like I'm going to break up with you today. And so if you're already thinking about that, you don't need to like get on a call with them if you've already decided. You don't owe them an explanation, but you can I would at least text them or however you communicate, if they communicate, because that's something else we'll talk about, of, hey, and again, looking at your contract with them, but saying, I just feel like this relationship's run its course. I appreciate what you've done. I'm going to move on and do something else. And that's it. You don't have to explain anything else. They're going to want to know, what can I do? Blah, 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 and try and hunt you down. And you don't have to reply. But I think that's part of that shame and guilt cycle too, of like where they're almost guilting you into staying.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Shaming you like you can't do this on your own. You shouldn't be. And they don't need to know whether you are going to do it on your own or not. But like I said, what is the mode of communication, right? So the first part that we're going to talk about is like kind of the relationship aspects, and then we'll go into the exercise and nutrition aspects of this. But like, when you sign up, how do they say, this is how we're going to communicate? I tell my clients when they come on, I say, look, you've got a weekly check-in and we have a weekly call, but I usually check in with clients every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If I don't hear from you in between then, I follow up. But if you always need me sooner, you're welcome to message me before I message you. Right. And I make it very clear. But if they don't respond and you're not getting your answers, or they don't set that communication kind of, I want to say like guidelines that they have, then it's you don't know when they're going to pop up. Yeah. Right. Or like, you don't know what they're going to check in about. You may be so focused on nutrition and they're trying to talk to you about exercise, And you're like, I'm just concerned that I had the cookies yesterday. And so
Right.
that's another
Right.
thing to consider.
I've heard this actually many times. It's actually one of the things we get a lot of really great feedback on is the communication, even when we're in different time zones. That was one we just
Mhm.
recently got. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
So, but I heard one of our clients that recently graduated, she had mentioned she went on one of the big programs, like one of the big guys that,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they wrote, I met with them once and then I didn't hear from them but once a month.
Once a month?
Yes. And I'm sure that once a month check in is like, well, you're not seeing progress. What's your problem? Blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So that guilt and shame of like, oh, you're not. When we check in with our clients, it's number one, supporting them, saying, hey, how are you in the moment? Right. So they don't have to remember what happened with the cookie. Right.
Right.
It gives us data, it gives us an understanding of those moments and how we can help them. And if, also, we don't expect our clients to move from someone who is consciously incompetent about, say, nutrition to unconsciously competent, which is that we're missing already one step in
Mhm.
between those two things. It requires that daily, not daily, but that like consistent kind of, hey, how are we? Do we need to adjust things? How are you feeling? How was the party last night? What can I support you with? And that and then the solutions we create together
Yeah.
from whatever it is that we're working on then helps build that confidence, right? To that unconscious competence is where we want to be in regards to any sort of thing we're learning. And so if you're checking in once a month, you have a lot more confidence in your client than you should.
Right.
Not that
Or
we
they
talk
need
about
to
false
be a
confidence
more
all the time.
advanced client, I would say.
Right.
Like if it's a once a month check-in, the client, you need to identify that they're kind of just cruising and needs just a little accountability and direction every so often.
Well, even like physique, like professionals
Oof.
that know how to do it, I'm sure their coaches are checking with them all the time.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, I mentioned this though, that shame and guilt of like, this is your problem. You have the same 24 hours in the day as everyone else. Why can't you just stop eating it? Why can't you just clean the cookies out of your house? What made you not get that workout? Now, I'll say like, hey, it looks like something stood in the way of getting that workout in last week
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to give them an opportunity to move it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But what other shame and guilt do you hear out there? Or like Michael's, you'll see,
Yeah.
guilting you when you give them feedback that their
Yeah.
approach sucks.
Yes. And from my experience with clients, it's more so of like the trainer becomes almost like their inner critic, first of all, but then it also becomes their parental role. And
Mm-hmm.
they decide that that's an okay relationship because they're so used to like a parent or an authoritative figure treating them that way, so they don't
Right.
recognize that like, no, this is actually someone that should be supporting me, and when I walk into the gym or when I get on a call, I should feel relief.
Right.
So, and this is like, so someone could listen to how we communicate and they could be like, wow, that's like a lot. It's like, I'm not ready for that. And it's that's not how it is forever with us. Like the communication does back off as the client gets more autonomy and gets more competent consciousness available to them. So it's hard to say, but you have to recognize if you feel like you can't reach out to your trainer. So like, for example, one of my in-person clients was struggling this past week. So she texted me and I said, let's just hop on a call like this morning. Because I knew it was going to take me like 30 minutes to like figure it out with her real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And she feels bad for having a Cobb salad. And I'm like, what is bad about having a Cobb salad? And she's like, well, because I just feel like blue cheese and blue cheese dressing. And I said, or we can look at the Cobb salad, like eggs for protein, bacon for protein and fat. And then you had it with shrimp. There's avocado, there's tomato, and there's green, whatever lettuce they used. So there's your fiber. I said, the only thing I would change is just get the dressing on the side. And that's about it.
Right.
And so she has to recognize like she already feels that shame and guilt. I don't need to give her more of it. But then doesn't want to come to a trainer, like if I keep shaming and guilting her, like, well, yeah, Cobb salad is probably one of the unhealthiest things you could have had. It's why do we do
I
that?
had a Cobb salad this weekend.
I love a Cobb salad.
So
Like,
good.
yeah. So it's one of those things of the communication, establishing the check-ins and the communication guidelines, but also how you feel after that communication. You should feel relieved coming to your coach with these concerns. You should feel a weight is lifted. Because even I asked her, I'm like, checking in, how are we feeling? Like throughout the call, like, what are you thinking? She goes, no, I just feel better. I feel better. I'm like, great. Okay. That's all. Sometimes you just need that little touch point of, I just feel better. There shouldn't be this essential dread or fear of going to them, like, or like they're going to treat me like my mom or my parent or my authority figure does.
Yeah. Well, like I had a conversation with a client today, and I was looking at her weight chart, and on the weekends her weight spikes, and then obviously she's playing catch up, and she's hitting her calories. So I went deeper, and I was like, oh, interesting. Like you're having over 80 grams of sugar.
Whoa.
Yeah. So she'll have, because she has a higher calorie day, she'll oftentimes end up with like candies and sweets. And I was explaining like, the water retention, storing the glucose and all of that. And even when I'm giving her constructive criticism, that's what it needs to be. It's not like, dude, what the fuck happened this weekend? Why'd you eat so much candy? Like she said something worse back to me. She goes, so I should stop eating like an asshole on the weekends. I was like, whoa. That is not what I said. No. I said, maybe we should just establish we keep it under X amount of sugar on the weekends. And now for you guys listening to this, sugar is not the enemy, but like just the amount in that serving. Right? And some days it was like 107 grams. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, but the rest of the week she's great, And so I'm not as concerned with her having those candies and stuff, especially just kind of spreading it out over the course of the week. But just to help her understand, it's like, so the weight spikes and then we're playing, then it's coming down, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now it might not see any weight loss because then it spikes again on, Thursday, Friday, whatever that is. So even the way that they explain things that you do need to change, if they're, again, shaming you, guilting you, or maybe the opposite, not even fucking paying attention to things like that.
Right.
That detail to that client to be able to say, let's try this. Like, let's keep it under, 50 grams on the weekends. That way she can still have her treats. She can still, enjoy herself, but maybe we won't see as big of a spike. Like that's really important.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point about you as the coach in that situation being flexible with her, right? Like, so you could easily say, yeah, no, we're not going to have sweets anymore because this is the situation. But you're giving her the option of like, here's what I see. So you can either keep doing it and that we just need to know, and that's our expectation. Or here's a recommendation or 3 recommendations on how to modify that. Yeah. Instead of, because I see a lot of like, for trainers or coaches, it's cut and dry. So it's either this way or you're doing it wrong. And there's no flexibility. And this is where like diets come in and Weight Watchers come in. And actually it's funny because I had a call with this gal last week, and I need to follow up with her now that I think about it. That did Weight Watchers since January. And then of course gained back like 40 pounds or something like that within 3 months. And so she's like, I love Weight Watchers. I said, that's great. But Weight Watchers is not obviously teaching you how to dine out or, be in your lifestyle. And she's like, I guess that's true. And I'm like, exactly. And it's not that, like, if you want to use Weight Watchers, like there are things that we can pull from that diet, or even Jenny Craig or even Slim Fast. It's not all bad. There is some education in there, but we can apply those to you, not just what that diet is with the strict guidelines. It's just like if a coach gives you a meal plan and it's like, I always tell clients like, but you don't even like grapefruit. So why would we even consider that when you don't even like half the stuff and you're just going to force feed yourself?
Or you don't have time to fucking make the thing that they're telling you to make.
But even like for your client right now, okay, so we have Halloween coming up, Thanksgiving coming up, and Christmas coming up, and New Year's or Hanukkah, whichever holidays that you celebrate or don't celebrate. We as coaches have to be flexible. Right. Because it's not fair to hold you guys in this container of perfect, right? Or good and bad or better than, less than, because you're already doing that. And our goal is to get you out of that cycle so you can go through these and learn that the flexibility options we offer you are something you can definitely do on your own when you build that confidence.
Well, and it's like exactly what you said. If your trainer is making you feel like you're wrong for the way you ate, or if you missed a workout, I mean, again, that's just well, the problem, guys, is like you, as Amanda said, you're already believing that about yourself. And so this just reinforces that belief. But that is the belief that's keeping you stuck in the place that you're in. And so you should feel very comfortable and able to come to them. I mean, people talk to us about things beyond this. Now we keep our boundaries, of course, but they just know that this is a safe place for them to be safe with their emotions and hold space for them. And that flexibility is so important because that's how we live our lives.
Right.
Like I just talked about my weekend. Did I say in there like, oh, and then I had my protein shake and my No, you know why? Because I'm not going to have a weekend like that in a while. Right. This weekend, I have my dog's quinceañera. Are you coming?
We're going to try. We got our CPR class that day that got rescheduled.
Okay.
I know. So
I have my dog's quinceañera, and I already know it. I eat that at that place all the time. So I wasn't too worried about it. Plus I was starving the whole time. So the other thing though is like maintaining professionalism.
Yes.
Like all of this is a part of professionalism, but let's just get down to the bones of professionalism. Communication, if they're canceling you or not showing up, I hear this shit all the time. As Michael being one of them. Showing up when you're going to show up, rescheduling. Like I hate, okay, so for our clients listening, freaking ever fit on our end. If we open up the inbox and you're the first message, it marks it as read.
And then I have to mark unread.
Yes. And if we don't do that for whatever reason, because we're in a hurry, we miss your message. And I hate that feeling so much because I'm like, so then say the next day I am going through and doing my Monday, Wednesday, Friday check-ins. I'm like, oh shit. She messaged me, maybe it was even Monday night after my messaging hours or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I didn't see this. And next time I just got to be like, for you guys listening, how would you like me to say that? Everfit read your message. Everfit is crazy.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to the point, though, of the communication style, though, because even you could be like, oh, shit, I left it on red and then just respond to what they were saying. But you're taking the initiative to be like, hey, unfortunately, this app has a glitch that, or a user kind of experience that we don't like in that sense. I'm catching up. Here's my reply to it.
Just like your texts don't do that.
I know. It's very annoying.
All right.
Exercise.
Let's get into so at all points, we need to have an assessment, right? Yeah. So you need to have a health assessment. We do a pelvic health assessment. So now we have a health and something assessment.
We've got a lot of assessments that first week.
Yeah, we do. We have a pelvic floor assessment. We have an ideal self, a body image, and then a movement assessment. So even though we're not in front of the client, we will know a good chunk of their history. We'll know how they move in different ranges of motion. We will know kind of
if they pee their
pants, and we'll know how they feel about their appearance in the mirror.
Yes.
An assessment is so important, especially for, I would say, how you move, right? And how you move and like the level you're at in regards to movement, any sort of medical issues that we need to be aware of, any sort of limitations or injuries that we need to be aware of. And like food allergies, I think is a good one. Medications you're taking. What else would you put on? Like just a minimum assessment.
I think I have just a communication assessment of, did they complete it? Does the coach offer it?
At all?
At all.
I'm trying to give and it also should include not just like your name, phone number, and
did they it not just like here's a sign up form, but here's like some information. I see this a lot sometimes in some of the coaching groups that we're part of, is they don't want to give an assessment because they feel like they're wasting that client's time when the client is expecting, or the potential client, I should say, is expecting like a workout in that session. And to me, I'm like, then that needs to be put forth. That's a communication issue, an expectation issue, because when they sign up to come meet with you, you need to say, like, I always tell if they're coming in person, I don't know if we're going to get to a workout. We typically do, but really this is a great time for you and I to get to know each other. When you complete this assessment, it helps me understand where we're starting at, what your fears are, and I want to work through them with you. And then we're going to do some movement stuff. And
Yeah.
that helps me build the program that we're going to work with. So there's a reason why we do it, like you're saying.
Well, and just expectations in general. Like when I get someone on a call and they're like, yes, I want to sign up. I'm like, okay, here's how this looks from the 4-month standpoint, right? The no name, notice, nurture. Then I talk about, and then the first week's going to look this way. Then our coaches, then on their first call, also reiterate what the first week looks like. On my first call with them, or even the clarity call, I say, and our coaches are going to touch base with you at least 3 times a week, which includes your call. You have access to them at, Monday through Friday. I even in their onboarding then have a whole FAQs video. Like I am hitting you so hard with expectations so that there hopefully is there's still questions, but hopefully we've answered a lot of your questions. But a lot of people don't do that, or even expectations and like helping them resolve their binge eating. Like I need you to understand this will happen again.
Well, even the expectations of like overworking out. So if we're going to if on the assessment, I see traits of, I love to work out, I do this all the time, blah, 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 then that helps me again, give the expectation, but also design the program and then talk to them about why that happened, why it's this way.
Right.
And so your assessment is, yes, okay, foundation of communication, but also kind of tweaking in the insight that I may not have perceived and then putting it on paper, because then we can also go back to it. So even thinking of like mobility wise and doing like, okay, what does a squat look like today? What does a squat look like in 4 months from now? Look at the difference here, whereas before you couldn't, and now you can do XYZ.
Well, and also if I have a movement assessment, then when I'm creating their training program, I can add different types of movements, right? In an effort to, so like we talked about last time, like the progression of a squat, right? We might start with body weight squats or squat to a chair or a bench and then progress from there.
Right.
But you'll see, and this is why I don't love a lot. And I know at least at F45, if people asked, I would give them an alternate movement, but sometimes they wouldn't. And then you're just sitting there trying to correct form on this movement that like, they don't have the proper range of motion in, but adding in alternate movements for injury, or even some of our clients be like, hey, when I do this movement, I feel a little bit of pain in my lower back. We have them send us a form video first. And then if I need to add, I'll just add an alternate in the exercise itself. So then maybe they have a full back squat. And then maybe on days where they've sat more or whatever, their back is a little bit more painful, we go into like a goblet squat, right?
Yep.
And this is all about designing their program around that particular client's needs. So like, as you were saying, you have that data to go in and say, okay, you're someone who likes to work out all of the time. Or I'll just use this example. Like you'll see someone who, is a mom who works at office, or I love my doctors for this one, is a physician, works overnights, works call shifts, wants to be healthier because she obviously wants to practice what she preaches. This person knows I'm talking about her right now and knows the benefits of strength training, but because she's so fucking tired all the time and is an all or nothing thinker, she's always tried to push like a 45 to an hour workout, right? But when I assess all of that, I'm like, hey, let's start at 10, 15 minutes on days that you're not on call. Right. And I can design this program around her specific needs, because that 45 to 60 minute workout is going to absolutely drain her. But if I can get her to focus on 10, 15 minutes of some sort of movement and teach her how to fit that into her crazy schedule in a way that doesn't stress her out, she's going to be better overall.
Right. Well, and even let's say the client that, has a relatively balanced lifestyle. What are their goals? Right. So most of the 99 point, let me backtrack. 90% of the time we're going to do a full body routine. But if I have a client who really wants to build their glutes or something like that, which most women do, then I'm going to say, like, say they can do 3 days a week. 2 of those days is full body. 1 day is going to be a glutes focus day. So, but
Right.
again, that's a communication thing and why we do that. And like, I want you to get, and you say this very well, of I want you to get the results because you yourself are a testimonial to our business. And I want you to be happy with your outcome here. I don't want you to walk away going, fuck, that was a waste of time and money. And what the hell did I just do for 4 months plus?
Right.
Because most of our clients don't stop at 4 months. So
Right.
it's, again, focusing on the specific needs. So even like, again, for Michael, he wants to build a chest, but every time he goes, he's doing legs till he dies and then rows till he dies. And he told the dude, I want to build a chest. And without going more into like the nutrition aspect and blah, 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 he barely does it. And so
Right.
again, now that coach or that trainer shrugged off his goal, Michael's going, but what gives him the incentive to continue those sessions when at the end he feels like he hasn't met his goal?
Right.
And so that's discouraging as well. And then on top of that, he's not even tracking his progress. So for example, Michael knows he benched whatever he benched, but the trainer doesn't even know what to start the weight with every time he goes because he doesn't track his progress either. Correct. And I know, it's bad. It's really bad. And so
yeah.
he doesn't even track. So like, for example, if Christina comes into my gym, she's my client, we're going to do back squats because that's where we're at. We're good. And I start her with just the barbell. But 2 weeks ago, we were working on like 155. I'm doing her a disservice as far as making progress and using her time efficiently. But I'm also doing myself a disservice because now I'm wasting time trying to catch up and remember. So it's important that they track for you. And so for our example, for our clients, because it's virtual, it's in the app, but we're going in and looking like, okay, this gal was able to do, if it's a 3x8 to 12 rep and set range, and they do 3 sets of 12, I'm going in going, hey, next week, let's up the weight. Right. So I'm tracking it for them as well.
Right. Well, and that, being able to say, look at, we started at 155 barbell, squat. And 3 weeks later, look, you're at 160, like you're getting stronger, and tracking progress, not just in your workouts, but your range of motion, your mobility. We track progress even further than that, and we can also look at things like measurements and progress photos and steps and having less binges and being able to catch your inner critic and like so many things. Sleep is improving, energy is improving, your sex life is improving. So we're looking at all of those things, but even just at a minimum, and we're talking about exercise, is like, in an effort for this to work, we need to focus on progressive overload. Progressive overload requires you to understand where you were so you can go to the next step up, whatever that is. And if your trainer or coach is not doing that for you, then we have a big problem.
Yes.
Big
well,
problem.
And even part of the say they are tracking, a benefit of that is to make sure we're not overtraining if you tend to fall in that category too. Right. So we're just because you're tracking doesn't mean it checks the box, but it's also more so of like, how much are we really fucking doing? Cause so like, for example, it's difficult to track CrossFit workouts continuously, or it was back in the day, because you would go in, it was before like Wodify came out and all the apps and stuff. So you would have to like write it down in a notebook. Well, if you're not doing that, then your coach needs to be doing that. And then they need to be monitoring that overtraining because you're not. You just think, I go every day and I get sore, or like F45 too, right?
Right.
So,
I in my head were like, oh, I stick to black kettlebells here,
Right.
My client today, she started doing a class, and she's someone who's historically done strength training with me. And I said, hey, like, she just moved somewhere. So she just took this class, and I was like, look, I need to know what this class is. This class actually sounds decent. Like, he does like phased workouts, and it's only strength training. He apparently hates cardio too. So thank you to the man in Toronto. But we had to have that conversation today, because I'm like, for your goals that you want, and I just want to make sure that this makes sense for you. So I was like, I'd love for you, for at minimum, do 2 of my workouts and then go to the class, right? 'Cause she enjoys the class and she's making friends in her new town. So, yay. In regards to that too, is, overtraining. I think about, I had a coach who he did check in with me. he did do my macros, and my macros changed like every week,
Ooh,
which was crazy to
odd.
me now. And I had a 6-day split. Yeah. 6
That
days,
is
1 day
so
off. And on my
much.
day off, I should be doing like 45 minutes of like HIIT.
Oh my God.
I was overtraining. And he is a physique coach.
Oh,
I was called a lifestyle client,
yeah.
but he was a physique coach.
Oh
So
my
definitely
God.
overtrained, underfed, all of the things. That
Yeah.
training did not make sense for my life. Now, did I make it work? Yes.
Of
But
course.
did I feel a lot of stress and an effort to make that work? Yes. That was also during COVID. So there's a lot of barriers at that moment that should have been addressed. But like the other thing though, too, is I see these workouts where people will have 2 days a week where they can work out. And we see this on our group a lot.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I'll hit legs one day and upper body the other day.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why would you do that? Well, that's what my coach told me to do. And I'm like, well, if you only have 2 days to work out, why not work all major muscle groups on those 2 days? That makes sense, right?
I don't
You
don't
see
know.
stupid shit like that. Like,
I
oh, this is
know.
just,
And I
push pull.
yes, push pull, all that.
You could do a push pull
Or lower.
full body if you wanted
Yeah.
to.
But even then, I mean, you're getting really nitty gritty in the programming of it, where you could just say, okay, I need 2 leg exercises, 2 back exercises, 2 chest exercises, biceps, triceps, core. Like,
All right. So last thing here is, okay, what does nutrition look like? The biggest thing for me in nutrition is the one size fits all.
yes.
Like giving you that kind of generic calorie intake. They are probably giving it to a lot of people. Same like caloric intake. It pisses me off. There was actually a girl who got in a lot of trouble for this on social media. Yeah, she was giving everyone the same workouts, even though she said it was custom and her nutrition goals were relatively the same.
So she got caught because they were talking to each other, or what? Like her clients were?
Mm-hmm. Like a friend would sign up.
Oh, like you and I would both sign up and I'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And we'd be like, oh, wait, what the fuck?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so these kind of generic 1,200, 1,500 calorie deficit,
right,
or even just putting you in a calorie deficit right away. I was guilty of this at Body Smart. There was no reviewing your food. There was no reverse dieting to maintenance. There was just, here's your calorie deficit. And it was 500 calories off the bat.
How did you
always
calculate that? Like, how did you determine that? Like
a calculator.
You would just use like oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I would also explain. So, okay, again, now going into the calorie deficit versus not of why we do make these adjustments. So we need to explain that. You need to understand that because that's how you're going to gain this independence. Now, again, you don't have to always like try and get independent. You can always have a coach. That's fine. But you need to understand like, why is it a 500 calorie deficit instead of 250? Why did I go to 1,700 instead of 1,800? Or why did I go to 1,800 instead of 1,700? Right. And so that way you can understand those behaviors and patterns. And you need to understand, like, even like you did with the prior client, of how her candy on the weekends right now is impacting the overall goal, the nutrition. So then we can modify either the goal and expectation, or we modify the behavior to match what the current goal is.
Yeah, no. And that's really important, that educational piece. And we talk about it all the time. Like I tell my clients, like, I want you to know all aspects of nutrition. So I want you to know what it feels like to be in maintenance or maintenance, deficit, a reverse, and then maybe even a surplus. Because when I can teach you that and why it's important for every single level, then you can recreate that, because you can go up off of what you know. You can use a calculator, whatever that looks like, and then learn. If you learn, okay, a calculator may give me a general number. I know I can push that up some. If we're reverse dieting, for example, you can do it on your own eventually.
Right.
Right. And that education and understanding each piece. Even right now, I have a lot of clients who are really focusing on food quality, and I explain why.
Right.
Right. I have some clients on a lower protein diet right now with higher fats, and it is making a huge difference in perimenopause. It's phenomenal. It's Mediterranean.
Back to Mediterranean.
Back to Mediterranean. But say that I was like, okay, this is exactly what you need to eat Mediterranean.
Right.
that is making you so fucking dependent on that person, and you are learning nothing. You're not learning, and it's again not custom to you. So like meal plans, tell me what to eat.
Right.
No.
Well, and that's like the client, for example, that I was talking about earlier that we talked on a call today. She's like, I just don't think I'll ever be like a chicken and vegetable person. I said, that's fine. I'm just using that as an example. Like but we have to figure out a way of balance. Like then, it doesn't have to
I would be like, you are a chicken and vegetable person. You just added some egg and bacon to it. So calm down.
Well, that's another story.
That's what I would say.
I say that's fine. But
Yes.
like we got to figure out like a different way to fluctuate that throughout the week. But I also want to emphasize, if your trainer is not a registered dietitian, they could not legally be providing you a meal plan.
Correct.
And like we can say, hey, I want you to eat 1,800 calories, focus on more fat, protein, kind of those modifications.
Your lists of high fiber foods, your lists of whatever.
But if it's like, this is what you have for breakfast, this is what you have for lunch, this is et cetera throughout the week, that's illegal.
Dude, and I've seen some fucked up
shit.
Meal plan.
Yes.
I looked at her. This woman is almost 300 pounds and working with this trainer in person, and he wrote her meal plan. I was like, I would not be able to eat this.
Yeah.
And I have been doing this for a long time. She gave him his meal plan. He gave her his meal plan.
Yeah.
Before he's competing.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Hate that for us. But yes, Amanda is correct. It's illegal.
It's illegal.
Why we don't do it. It's illegal. And in all honesty, the dietitians I know kind of teach you how to eat, not tell you what to eat.
Yeah. Well, in all honesty, you've done the strict meal plan from the Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, and all of that shit too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you already did it. So you didn't learn what you really want. Like, maybe you don't like salmon, but okay, we could have trout. Right. Mm-hmm. But if I put salmon, like for this client, for example, that you're talking about, if there's salmon in there, is she just going to suck it up, or is she going to go, fuck it, I can't do this?
Oh, she's going to say, I can't.
Yeah. So there we go. There's your self-belief.
Well, and then there's you've got to cut out sugars, or why did you have the donut, or, blah, blah, just villainizing or vilifying. Is villainizing a word?
No, vilifying.
Vilifying. I say villainize. I made it up. It's my own word.
It is a word.
Vilifying foods. Then this coach is only making your relationship with food even more terrible.
Oh, wait. Right? Villainize is a word. You're right.
Yay. Okay. If your coach doesn't share with you that they go on a girls' trip, share a Cobb salad, eat the bread, have the wine, and is okay, like, I feel perfectly fine today.
Correct.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm not beating myself up. Like, that's a normal person. Like, that's someone you should learn from. But if they're like, I don't eat stuff like that. This is how I do it. I just drink water with some lavender. Shut the fuck up. You are disordered. Your coach is disordered.
Yes.
If your coach also is like super lean all year round, that's probably also a thing you should probably pay attention to.
Red flag. Yeah. That's it. I think when coaches can't be honest about who they are too, going back to like the mindset piece. So like, for example, one of my clients, she had like 4 cookies yesterday, and she's like, I also had 4 cookies. And I was like, were they good cookies? Like, at least? And she's like, they were really fucking good. Like, cause they had a party. And I was like, well then, okay, but we don't need to, like, I was like, I had like 4 pieces of pie yesterday. So what does that tell you? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, did I overeat some pie? Yeah. But also, was it good? Yeah. Do I always have pie? No. So
I also had my own little thing. I hadn't had a meal, and now I'm starving, and we don't get home till 10.
Oh,
and now it's 10:30. And finally, I had some chicken salad prepped, that chicken salad I talked to you guys about last week, and I just ate the rest of that. I'm like, I need something now. Like, I'm going to fucking die. Yeah. I get like low glycemic, right? Or low blood sugar.
I don't know. I get low, and then I get very like, fuck off. Like, yeah, I get panicky. I get panicky.
At this point, I'm like, I want to eat anything. Like, so, but I had We went to Los Taquitos.
Ooh,
And
yummy.
yes.
Okay, I support that.
But what I do is because I wanted in my head, I'm like, I want a quesadilla. I wanted this. I got the
Yeah.
kids meal. I got the
Oh,
kids menu.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a kids menu. I wanted a little bean and cheese burrito, so I got that, and it's like little tiny thing. And then I got it. Oh, we shared a quesadilla, and then I wanted chips and salsa. I wanted all the things, but it was kind of like exactly what I came from. It's just like little tiny things, but that was me yesterday. Had Mexican food. It was delightful.
Hello. Yeah.
Oh, good. So anyway, so these are all red flags. These are all things that, again, if you're, as Amanda said, if you're walking away feeling more like your inner critic, then we have a big, big problem there. And if you're not feeling safe and secure, then it's probably time to reconsider the person that you have hired. What else would you say to the people they want to hear?
I would say you don't have to create a friendship with them, like, because I think some people try and aim for that because it is a professional relationship, but it's one of those things of like nobody wants to go to work every day, but do you mind going to work, right? And what I mean by that is, do you really want to work on like the mindset, the exercise, and the nutrition and feel like a failure and did it like no, you want it just to work. But do you mind the process that someone's helping you support and guide through? Are they making it easier for you? Are they a sounding board? Are you feeling relief when you get off the call? Or are you feeling relief that you just texted them like, hey, I emotionally ate and I just feel better telling you. And like, okay, you can let that go. So I think it's more important for how you're feeling in the relationship as opposed to, I don't know, like, is it a friendship? Do I feel like, because it's not, it's just a good
It can
relationship to
turn
have.
into one.
It can turn
But
into
yeah,
one. Yeah.
I definitely have a lot of friends that were clients at one point.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about I worked with a business coach, and every time I left the call, I was so anxious. I
Yeah.
was like, fuck. I was
Yep.
so overwhelmed. And I was just like, I'm paying you a lot of money. And I feel like I'm constantly doing more and doing
Right.
more and doing more. And I left that relationship.
Yeah.
So good, good. All right, guys. Well, if you are interested in coaching with us, please check out the show notes below for our Clarity Call link. We have group coaching, we have one-to-one coaching. And as we've kind of sprinkled in here, you can kind of get an idea of how we coach. If you can, please give us a follow and subscribe to this podcast. The more subscribers we have, the more people we get this out to. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere where you listen to your podcast. We'd also love a 5-star rating and review. You could also follow us on Instagram at The Mindset of Matter Coaching, fitbyamanda.az, and on YouTube at The Mindset of Matter. And if you have one piece of advice that you should tell that shitty trainer, it's this.
What you say in the mind.
You see in the mirror.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yay. I like our camera setup.
Yeah, it looks better.